Okay, so I put together a few slides to talk about the time value of money. All right, so this is a concept that we'll build on in Chapter 10. It is a concept that we need to comprehend in order to really understand what's going on in Chapter 10, which is our next chapter that we'll start, that I'll post the first lecture for on Wednesday. All right. Now this is really just quick and dry, quick and dirty, I should say. You'll get this in much greater detail in your financial management course. If you've already had that, this may be review, or it may be basic for you, but the majority of us have not. So that's the purpose of this lecture. All right. So when it comes to time value of money, we need to be aware of how to do four things. All right, and the first is to compute future value of a known sum at time 0. All right, so time, and what we have here is a timeline. So this represents time 0, which is effectively now. On the other end is a future point in time. All right, now time value of money is based on the fact that if I offer you $1 today, or the same dollar next week, virtually everybody's going to opt for the dollar today, right? Because money today in the same amount is worth more than money in the future, all right? And for that, that's why we have interest, right? And so what we'll have is a known amount today, and we'll say if I invest or earn a certain interest, what will it be in the future? Well, we'll have tables that help us figure that out, right? When we are taking amount we know today and compounding it with interest to a future point in time, that is, we can use table B1, and there are 4 tables I've posted a link to in the course, and we'll use them when I demonstrate a few problems from our handout. But this is the abstract view of what we're doing when we are computing the time value, future value of a sum certain or a known dollar amount. So we're solving for this. The problem will always give you an amount of time and a stated interest rate. All right. The next thing we'll do is compute present value. Now here we'll start with the timeline. Time 0 is still right now, a future point in time, but the difference is we know the amount we want or will have in the future, and we're solving for what amount we need to invest today at a specified interest rate to get the known amount in the future. So when we have the known amount and we're solving for what we want today, this is actually working backwards compared to future value. All right, so we're going back in time. Interest is discounted from the future point in time back to time 0, and we're going to use table B2. All right, that's the second table. We'll have 4 that we'll work with. All right, I want to introduce. Okay, so the 2 previous slides we talked about how to compute present value of a sum certain in the future, and also the opposite, computing the future value of a sum certain that you understand, that you know today. All right. Well, what if we have payments equally spaced out? All right. Well, that's called an annuity. All right. And so generally the timeline is consistent. So time 0, future point in time, and equal payments of a known dollar amount, equally spaced. So these could be monthly payments annual payments. It could be any equally spaced interval. And it is worth noting that the annuities we see, typically no payment is made at time 0. When you get into your financial management course, that concept will be introduced. It's called an annuity due. But for our purposes, no payment made at time 0. So think about, I get paid at the end of each month. If I invest $50 at the end of each month for a year, at 5% interest, how much would I have at the end of the year? Well, we can answer that question using table B4. Interest compounds over time. We'll use table B4. All right. The last thing that we'll need to know how to do is the present value of an annuity. So timeline is still consistent. Known dollar amount, we're still dealing with an annuity. But in this case, we're interested in knowing what is the present value. And this is useful for if I want to buy a car and make car payments. All right. And I qualify for an interest rate of 5%. And I can make a payment of $500 a month. And I'm willing to finance for 5 years. Well, I can compute the present value of that, and that tells me how expensive a car I can afford to buy. All right, so that's an example of present value of an annuity. And this is going to be really important for us when we start pricing bonds in Chapter 10. Okay, so when we compute present value of an annuity, we are discounting, once again, back to time 0, and we're going to use table B3. Okay, so these figures have been a bit abstract, but just keep them in mind as we start, because in the next lecture, I'm going to demonstrate how we use these concepts and the tables to work through time value of money problems. Okay, that's all for now.